your research work. Don't read all the slides to just consume the time, but explain it. Speak orally about your work.
So hello everyone. Today I'll explain on my dissertation presentation titled Voice at the Margin, Subalternity and Dehumanization in Frankenstein and Heart of Darkness. So here are my academic details and chapterization. So chapter 1. In this I have taken two theories, dehumanization and subalternity in literature. And I have taken two texts, Frankenstein and Heart of Darkness. Subalternity refers to socially and politically marginalized group whose voices remain unheard within the dominant discourses, and dehumanization involves the denying individuals or groups their human identity and dignity within the social or colonial system. And in both the texts I have taken three characters. From Frankenstein I have taken creature or monster, and in also I have taken one female character, Justin Mortis, and from Heart of Darkness I have taken African people who were slaves. Through that I connected it with subalternity and dehumanization. Here is my hypothesis. So my in my hypothesis I have taken dehumanization and subalternity through to show it through the characters, and also African peoples who are denied to voice and agency and humanity through the dominant ideology and narrative frameworks. So consequently, the texts reveal how literary narratives reproduce and critique system that silence subaltern subjects. In my research question, I have taken subalternity with the Frankenstein and Heart of Darkness, and then ideology of dehumanization, how it shapes. It is also from this Heart of Darkness, and at the end this how this dehumanization influenced the contradiction of the suppression of the subaltern voices in these two texts. Research objective are similar with the research question. Chapter 2. In literature review, which type of theories I have taken to connect all this my work. Initial one is a subalternity, and then dehumanization, psychological othering, which is in which Fanon argues that colonized people internalized stereotypes, creating a fracturing identity shaped by the colonizer's gaze. Narrative silencing, subalternity voices and the filtered through the dominant narrators. In Frankenstein, the creature voices is the mediate by the Victor and Walton. In Heart of Darkness, African peoples shows through the Marlowe's narration. Gender subalternity, Justin Mortis in Frankenstein shows the patriarchal and judicial system silence female voices. Like in this Justin Mortis is she have to confess one sentence, but she wasn't even a fault of her. Then also she is trying to confess it. And then racial representation and limitation of humanism. So both the novels reveals contradiction in Enlightenment humanism, which claims equality but excludes people based on the race, gender, and appearance. Here is my research gap. So many people are research on this, that subalternity and dehumanization, and also taken this text in their comparative studies or their study, but very few comparative studies explore how both novels simultaneously construct and silence subaltern figures across different geopolitical contexts. This way it fills this gap through the comparative analysis of narrative framing and representational strategies that deny voices, humanity, and agency to marginalized subjects. Chapter 3, it is majorly focused on character which I have taken from taken from Frankenstein, and the initial character is Frankenstein, who is suffering from subalternity and dehumanization, and his voice is not that much important. The subaltern in produced through the epistemic violence rather than social marginality. The creature represent a dehumanized subject, rejected by society, depict his capacity for reason, emotion, and moral awareness. I have taken here one original quote from this novel, that I ought to be the Adam, but I am rather the fallen angel. He think that he should be Adam, but he taken as a Satan. So Victor's abandonment creates the creature's marginalized condition and reflects the refusal of the ethical responsibility. Here also another quote, that I improve rapidly in the knowledge of language. That he learn language and try to combine with other peoples and connect with other people, but he reject. Another character is Justin Mortis. Justin also was a girl and merit of the process qualities which promised to render her life happy. Now all was to be obtained in the ignominious grave. So, as I earlier told, that he was forced to confess, illustrate how institutional authority silence marginalized individuals. She another time she says that I confessed, but I confessed a lie. So the character allows shows how narrative authority is controlled by Victor, shaping how the creature is represented as a judge. And Victor uses some words for the creature, like monster, demon, and rich. So the creature's narrative voices remains the embedded within the Victor's narrative, demonstrating the speeches does not grant the recognition. The subaltern may speak, yet remains unheard within the hegemonic discourses. So in this chapter, it is concluded that way, that monstrosity and violence are socially produced consequently of sustained exclusion rather than inheritance moral defects. In this chapter, I have taken African peoples who are slaves as a character, and through the study, the dehumanization and subalternity. Here, African speeches in the novel often appears fragmented or untranslated, illustrating the structural silencing of the colonial subalterns. As we see in this novella, that how this all the characters are not allowed to speak, and they are marginalized, and through the colonial perspective they are colonial people were controlling that way. Marlowe is trying to controlling with narrative structure. So ultimately this reveals the ethical limits of the European humanism, which claims universality, which depending on the exclusion of colonial subjects. In conclusion, both Frankenstein and Heart of Darkness portrayed marginalized characters whose voices are controlled or suppressed by dominant European narratives. As we see in this Heart of Darkness, that these African people who are slaves, on that Marlowe and Kurds are trying to control with the narrative structure, and marginalization is not accidentally but produced through social, racial, and ideological hierarchies that defines who is recognized as a fully human. A layered narration reinforces silencing the creature's voices, meditate through the Victor and Walton, while the African voices are filtered through the Marlowe's narrative. So both the novels reveals the contradiction of Enlightenment humanism, which claims universality but includes those marketed as the other, and denial of the recognition leads to the moral collapses. Victor's rejection caused tragedy, as Victor is reject this monster, and he being evil, while Kurt's downfall exposes the violence of the imperial ideology. So this study focuses on the two texts and mainly uses postcolonial and subaltern frameworks within limits attentions to repetition, reception, history, and feminist post-humanist perspectives. So in future studies may explore receptionally history, gender silencing, Fanonian resistance, and post-human approach to the concept of the human. Like in future, anyone wants to study on this, then they can focus on female character who are suffering in the novel. So this way. And bibliography. Thank you.